Hello. So now, since we understood that why we need data types, right, and what it do exactly. So EF Code said we can validate our data by using two steps. First is data type, and second is by assigning constraints, right? So we have understand our five data types, which is char, var, char. Whenever we want a column to be of string type, we'll go for char or var, char. When we want an integer value, we'll go for a number, right? We'll go for a number like that. Okay. And for date, whenever we want suppose DOB, like at that time we'll go for date. And large object, suppose we want to make another column which is image, at that time we'll go for uh, uh, blob or clock. Okay, so these are the five data types we should understand. We had understood. Okay, now now let's create a table. Okay, now let's create a table where uh, we'll have a column employee ID. Okay, employee name, your date of joining, and your job, and your salary. Okay, now suppose you have a table. Now employee E101, E102, E103, E104, E105. Okay, name is XYZ, QR. Kind of uh, um, what kind of data type we can assign here? As I said, whenever we want to go for IDs or something like that, we'll assign a carrier. Let's say 5. Okay, or 15. Let's say 15. Okay. Now, what kind of data type is this one? This can be varchar. Take it as a varchar. This data type is date, right? This is also your varchar 2, suppose, and this is your number, right? So now suppose now so we have understood. This is our table column, which is char data type. Employee name should be varchar, date of joining will be date, varchar 2, job we have assigned as varchar 2, and sal as a number. Okay. Now, now since there are two ways to validate a data, and one way is the data to assign a data type, which we have done it right now. This now suppose my few values are not present. Okay, suppose my few values are not present. Okay, my few values are not present. So who will validate this? So this particular employee name VWX doesn't have a date of joining and doesn't have an employer ID, but he is a senior engineer and has a salary of 65,000. Does this record is making any sense to us? No, right? This employee E01 doesn't have a name and doesn't have a salary, but he has joined the organization 2018 as a senior engineer. So these are the records which doesn't making any sense, right? So who will validate this record? How we will validate this record? Using a constraint. Okay. Now, constraints are the extra validation. We understand that the employee ID should be of char, but how we can validate that it shouldn't consist a null value or empty record here? How we will validate that? By using a constraint. Okay. Now, so how we'll define a constraint? Okay, how we'll define a constraint? When we want to give an extra validation to a column, at that time we go for constraint. Okay. Now, how we have there are like there are types of constraints we have. Okay, so the same way we have data types, we have types of constraints also. The first thing is unique. Okay, one is not null, one is check, one is primary key, one is foreign key. Okay, so for the time being, you keep in mind there's one more default, but you, for the time being, you just keep in mind there are, like somebody asks you what are constraints, you just keep in mind primary key, foreign key, not null, unique, and check for just time, for the time. Okay.
Now coming to our first constraint, which is unique. So first constraint we're gonna understand is unique. So by the name only we got to understand that whenever we'll assign a column with unique constraint, it means the values of the column should be unique. Okay. Now let's move on to the same table. What unique will do? How will assign a unique? Let's come to the syntax part. So your column name, okay, your data type and constraint. So always keep in mind whenever you create a column, the mandate thing is the data type, not the constraint. Okay. If you try to create a column name with not giving a data type but directly giving a constraint, it will throw you an error. Okay. It will definitely throw you an error. So always keep in mind the data type assignment comes first, then the constraint assignment. Okay. Now, in this example, my employee ID, let's take example the employee ID. My employee ID of char data type, always remember to give the parameter along with char, and constraint how, what type of constraint I want to give is unique. Okay. So this is the example how we'll assign a constraint to a column. So, since we have assigned an employee ID which is of char data type with a unique constraint, if you try to insert a value 101 again here, it will throw you an error. It will definitely throw you an error. Why? Because we have assigned the data type as char and constraint as unique. So, whenever you use a unique constraint in any column, duplicate values is not it won't allow us to insert a duplicate value in that particular column. So this is just unique. So always keep in mind whenever you want a column to have unique values, at that time we'll go for a constraint which is unique. Simple. That's it. Okay, the next constraint would be our not null. Thank you.